and welcome to Perception Media. I am your hostess, the Cinegeek, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the first 5 episodes of Hulu's Castle Rock, which is produced by J.J. Abrams. And if you look up here, I should have a link to a video I'm doing about kind of the history and context of Castle Rock as it pertains to the Stephen King verse. That's a verse, right? It's a verse. Alright, so hey look, it's Terry Quinn. He was in Silver Bullet, and he is the Shawshank prison warden, Dale Lacey, and it's his day of retirement. Oh wait, he's committing suicide at Castle Lake. And what was with that dog? Flashback! January 1991, we meet a younger Alan Pangborn, who is the same sheriff that Michael Rooker played in The Dark Half and Ed Harris played in Needful Things, and he's really our only main canon character that we're going to see. And he is searching through the snow for a boy who's about 11 or 12 years old who's been missing for 11 days, who is Henry Deaver. And we hear this really weird noise, and then suddenly, standing in the middle of the lake is Henry, 4400 style. Oh, yeah. And he drives him home to Carrie, Sissy Spacek. And he has this weird white, figurine that he's holding on to. And no one knows where he was those 11 days. He says he doesn't remember anything about it or anything from his life before then. And he doesn't seem to have sustained any injuries. However, his adoptive father, Reverend Matthew Deaver, I guess, died. Alright, so now we get the introduction to Shawshank Prison, where we get a reference to the Shawshank, that's so hard to say, redemption, in a note that Warden Norton from the Shawshank Redemption had committed suicide in the office. So we learned from our prison guard, played by Noel Fisher, Zawoski, that Block F is a section of the prison that has been closed for about 30 years, or just over 30 years, since a fire broke out in 1987. So the new warden, Warden Porter, played by Ann Cusack, sends him and another prison guard down to check. So down in this closed-off ward of the prison, through a creepy hallway, through a closed steel door, down another steel door that leads to a creepy tunnel, which is a water tank, we find a boy in a cage, and it's Pennywise. Okay, it's not Pennywise, it's Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise. I'm going to call him not Pennywise because they don't name the character. Moving on. So Warden Porter and her right-hand Dick decide that it would be horrible PR for anyone to learn of not Pennywise's existence, so they decide to keep him like a dirty little secret. Which makes so much sense. In fact, it doesn't. How unethical can you get? So anyway, not Pennywise seems terrified and confused, and he just looks so sad. And he says one thing in this episode, and barely a whisper, and that's Henry Matthew Deaver. So Zawoski is a really sweet prison guard, and he usually plays kind of mean, kind of bad characters. Oh my god, he's gonna die, isn't he? So he sees that Warden Porter and Dick aren't going to let not Pennywise out, and so he decides to call Henry to see if he can get him to help him. However, Henry is an attorney, and he handles capital punishment cases, and his client just died. His client was died in a botched execution, much like Green Mile, and she was the wife of Richard Chambers, who is the name of the bully, or one of the bullies in Stand By Me. And anyway, he agrees to take on the case and return home to Castle Rock. Now we meet the sister from Rose Red, Molly Strand, played by Melanie Lazinski. Don't know if I said that right. And she buys some pot from this kid, Dean Merrill, who may or may not be related to Ace Merrill, who was the lead gang guy from Stand By Me, and he also played Leland Gaunt's, or he's also the character that's employed by Leland Gaunt in the novelized version of Needful Things, but does not appear in the cinematic adaptation. So she sees Henry getting off the bus, coming home, and plays it like a girl who's just seen her ex, and she's having a bad hair day. Girl, I get that. So she hides, ducks down, and drives away real quick. acting like she didn't see anything at all. And then there's a flashback to a few days prior of Lacey in the dark water tank thingy with Not Pennywise, and he tells Not Pennywise to ask for Henry Deaver for whatever reason, which is weird. So he locks someone up. He committed suicide. He knew he was going to get found. Why would he ask him to do that? That doesn't make sense. I guess he was guilty. We'll learn more about that later. Anyway, I don't know why he chose for him to call Henry. Seems like there's a lot more, like a lot of other people he could have called, like the Ghostbusters. Anyway, so I'm wondering, like, what connection does Not Pennywise have with Henry, and what's going on with the woods? Is it like a Tommyknockers thing that was only a few towns over? It could be. Haven. So in this episode ends with Sawaski and seeing Not Pennywise escape, and he sees all these prison guards are dead and stuff, and a fly had landed in his coffee, and then earlier in the episode, the fly had landed on Not Pennywise's foot. Is there a connection? I don't know. Either way, damn, that escalated quickly. Okay, next episode, Habeas Corpus. So Lacey gives a narration throughout this episode that is utterly amazing. I love Terry O'Quinn. Oh, man. Okay, so we get a better understanding of the dead Shawshank warden and why he locked up Not Pennywise, as well as we get a deeper understanding of Castle Rock as a town and how it's a really bad place where a lot of really bad things have happened. And it gives references to Cujo, to the Strangler George Stark from The Dark Half. And we learned that Lacey's brother also committed suicide back in 1961, or the fall after they found that dead boy on the train tracks. Reference to Stand By Me. And so Lacey, turns out, was a very religious man, and he prayed to God to find a way to save himself and the town. So we see a flashback of him building this cage that we found Not Pennywise in later, and he's listening to this broadcast of President Bush, the first one. Sorry. And we hear of the broadcast, quote, "The world can no longer wait. The answer is clear." And this, I looked up, aired January 16th, 1991, which is during the 11 days that Henry was missing. So Not Pennywise and Henry are definitely linked somehow, if for bare minimum, because of this time period. So the last episode ended with Zawaski seeing the dead people over the prison, and we immediately learned that this is just like a vision he had, and it's assumed that it was caused by Not Pennywise, but we don't know if it was intentional or not intentional, and I'm going to assume not intentional because everyone else is assuming the worst in him. I think someone needs to give him the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, Henry Deaver is so patient. Like, this whole town is so racist. And they all assume that he murdered his father, the beloved Reverend, and he's just so cool with it. He just expects it, and he handles it like a boss, and I would not be able to be that cool with it. And yeah, the whole small town mentality thing is kind of a running theme in Stephen King novels. So Henry goes to Lacey's house to see if he can get any information about Not Pennywise, and he finds 7 calendars. That's an important number. And they have these dates on them: March 9, 2011, March 8, 2001, November 14th, 1998, April 22nd, 1988, September 13th, 2001, June 13th, 1999, and April 26th, 2043? I don't know if those dates have any importance. I couldn't find anything, and I was looking it up for like an hour. But they all had the exact same scripture, which is from Acts 16:33, which reads, even at the hour of the night, the jailer cared for them and washed their wounds. Then he and everyone in his household was immediately baptized. So I don't know the importance of that, but he was kind of crazy. Anyway, okay, so Molly has a lunch date with her sister who thinks she has social anxiety, or rather a psychic affliction, and this kind of gives a reason why maybe she has a drug problem, because she has The Shining. Okay, not specifically The Shining, but she has some sort of powers. And we learned in this episode that she lived across the street from Henry growing up, and she had a massive crush on him, and I don't blame her. Okay, so going back to Shawshank Prison, Dick Warden's right-hand man, decides to get rid of their little problem by putting Not Pennywise in a small cell with a neo-Nazi who's the most neo-Nazi who ever neo-Nazi'd. And he gets all up in Not Pennywise's face, and this poor kid just like whispers, "You don't want to touch me." And it's not like threatening. He seems like so sad. He looks so worried. Well, anyway, cut to the next morning. Neo-Nazi's dead from cancer. That escalated. And I don't know. I don't really feel bad for him. Moving forward, Pangborn stalks Warden Porter, and he runs into her at a hotel in Augusta and tells her that he pulled over Lacey back in January 1991 and, quote, he had finally figured out what was wrong with Castle Rock. He had always thought the devil was just a metaphor, but now he knew the devil was a boy, and old Dale, he said he caught him, and he locked the devil in a box, and from here on out, it was blue skies and butterflies. Don't let the kid out. Scott Glenn is scary. Anyway, so Warden and Dick are in the water tank, and they're looking over where Not Pennywise was kept, and the Warden Porter says he was a decent man. Everyone says so, a good man. He must have had a good reason for caging up a young man for who knows how long. Yeah, great reason. Infuriating. So back to Lacey's monologue, and this is going to be a long quote, I apologize. Give a man the keys to the dungeon, tell him to lock up the monster, or pin a star on his chest and call him sheriff. Maybe he succeeds a while, a year, a decade or two if he's lucky, but evil outlasts us all. Never again let him see the light of day. That's what God told me. He told me where to find him, how the prison should be built, how to put the end to all the horrors we've seen in this town. What he did not tell me was how full of doubt I would feel about what we did, or where I would wind up in the end. I fear for this place. I fear for what's to come. Castle Rock still has a defender, even in the dead of night. So, of course, Not Pennywise does see the light of day again with the help of Zawoski, and he's showing him to Henry to prove that he exists and he needs his help. And at the end of the episode, we see Pangborn that has the suicide note from Lacey, which is what the monologue has been, and we learn that he is the last defender that Lacey was referring to. Seriously, though, what is up with that dog?